Are you in an abusive relationship and don't even know it? Well, today I'm going to help you decide. Maybe it's felt like you're not sure. And so we all know those kinds of abuse that we're really sure about. Sexual abuse or domestic violence, where you're coerced, bullied into sex, or threatened, or where in domestic violence, where you are physically assaulted. I want to just give you, before I go on to psychological abuse and emotional abuse, I want to give you a telephone number that you can call. Because if you're in a sexually or abusive relationship that involves domestic violence or sexual assault, please call the National Domestic Abuse Hotline at 800-799-7233. And again, that's 800-799-7233. We understand that sexual abuse and domestic violence are just that. They are abuse. But sometimes we're on the fence. We don't know what is emotional abuse. And I found a great definition that I would love to share with you. Psychological abuse is when one person in the relationship tries to control information available to their partner. Let me just say that again. Psychological abuse is when one person in the relationship tries to control information available to their partner, and here's the caveat, guys, with the intent to manipulate that person's sense of reality of what's right and wrong, and what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. And I'm going to go into a little bit more about what that means. That they twist reality in order to get the person who's being abused to comply with their wishes. So that's what I mean about altering reality. Suddenly you're not sure. So they convince the person who's abused that it's their fault. That's a twist of reality, that somehow you deserve what's happening. Another way that they twist reality is they attack your character in order to undermine your self-esteem. Another way that the abuser alters reality is gaslighting, where, for example, you saw your boyfriend out with another woman. And when you confront him, maybe an hour later or so, he says, "Oh, you know what? It wasn't me. It wasn't me at all. You're just mistaken. You're somehow wrong." And you say, "Well, you know, Terry said that she saw you too, but maybe somehow I'm wrong." Yeah, of course you're wrong, because I was here. And how could I possibly be in two places at once? False information is given in order to manipulate the person who's being abused. They start to doubt their memory, their perception, and sometimes even their sanity. Have you ever thought, "Oh my gosh, I feel like I'm crazy. How could I have gotten that wrong?" Remember that abuse is about control and power. So altering one's reality is important. It's key to getting the person who's abused sort of out of their comfort zone, to get them, their equilibrium is off. They don't have a sense of what's right and wrong. They don't have a sense of what's true and what's not true. So oftentimes these folks will say things like, they'll withdraw their love, or they'll say, "You know what, if you don't do this, then I don't know if I can be with you anymore." So they scare you with abandonment or withdrawal of love. Sometimes they'll humiliate and embarrass you. So maybe you've got a beautiful outfit on and your partner says, "Oh, man, you look like you put on a few lbs," just to get you to doubt, just to take you out of your comfort zone. These are ways that they're just like death by 1,000 cuts. but in total, they really start to make a big impact. And so they put you down, they're hypercritical, they'll get silent, they'll just stop talking to you. They'll use their silence as a weapon. Please, just talk to me, come on, can't we talk this through? Person doesn't say anything. They use it to control. They've got all the power, and somehow you may start to think that they're right in wielding that power. I've also seen where people will have affairs in order to abuse their partner. In other words, they just start sleeping around. You know what? You're not the person I thought you were, so you know what? I get to sleep with anyone I want. Yeah, okay, I slept with her, so what? So remember that this is all the while you're like, but how can you say this? This isn't right. And they'll say things like, well, if you were a different kind of partner, if you dressed differently, or you didn't do this. So it's all about getting you under control. Or they'll just be provocative with the opposite sex. So you see your girlfriend and she is flirting with this other guy, just to intentionally keep you in line, to take you out of your game. And all the while you start looking at, what is it about me? Why doesn't my partner flirt with me? Why are they flirting with someone in front of me? So sometimes it's so unabashedly in your face that you don't even know what to do about it. Remember that, guys, these are all signs that you're in an abusive relationship. Because when it's emotional and mental abuse, it's a lot more subtle. Again, we understand those other kinds of abuse, but this is to help you understand if this is a relationship that is undermining your self-esteem, that's costing you a lot, that you're being manipulated and controlled. We have a couple of other videos coming up where we're going to talk more about the impact of this kind of emotional abuse. Another way that you could possibly be experiencing abuse is unreasonable jealousy, where it's like, oh, I saw you just walk into the room and it looked like, you were scanning the room for guys, or oh my gosh, you didn't stay close enough to me. You obviously wanted to talk to that other person. So there's just these things that start, you're like, gosh, that wasn't my intent. And the more that you tell your partner that wasn't your intent, the more that they believe that their perception of that reality is true. And boy, oh boy, you start looking to say, is there something that I'm doing? Remember, these things are about power and control. Folks who experience abuse oftentimes report, and I've heard this over and over again, that their partner's kind of moody. They can go from being happy to moody and surly in a second. And oftentimes the shifts for the moods are justified by you've done something. So you constantly have this feeling that you're walking on eggshells. Another way is your partner just starts making jokes about you, and that in front of other people they kind of belittle or malign you or put you down. They can be controlling and domineering. I don't know who you think you are. You're not going anywhere. Keep your ass at home. That's overt. So another way of controlling is threatening to hurt yourself. You hear these partners who say, oh, if you leave me, you can't leave, because if you leave, I have nothing to live for. I'm going to hurt myself. Or you know what? Go ahead, leave. Because you know what? I'm just going to take pills, and you know what? It'll be all your fault. So they manipulate you into staying because they use threats of self-harm and possibly suicide in order to keep you in the relationship. Another way is these folks are constantly monitoring your social media. That, oh, you need to, I saw that some guy liked your photo. that they're constantly looking and combing through your social media, even though you have no contact with that person. That even it's just simply they've liked it, given a thumbs up, etc. But yet this person slowly and surely starts to systematically not only cut you off from social interactions through social media, but they also start to isolate you from friends and family because they don't want anyone else to have undue influence. They try to isolate you so that you don't know that the manipulation and control is at work in full force. They don't want anybody else to tell you, oh my gosh, that's not normal. That's not typical. Why is this happening? So they try to isolate you from those folks. And this is the biggie, guys, money. Money is often used to manipulate and control, and you know you're in an abusive relationship when that person doesn't give you access to your bank account. They're starting to give you an allowance so that they can keep you so you have no means of exiting the relationship. Or suddenly they're on the deed to the house, or that all of the utilities are in their name, that the credit cards are in their name, so that way you don't have any means of escape. Oh, go ahead and leave, but you know what? I'm just gonna, you know what? I'm gonna take your name off the credit cards, and then what are you gonna do? Guys, I can't tell you how helpless people feel when they are making money, they're supporting themselves, but the controlling a partner who's abusing them has full control over all their assets and money. So let me just repeat this really, really quickly, just so you guys can get a sense that if you're wondering whether you're in an abusive relationship, I want you to think about that these are some of the things that they do. They convince you that it's your fault. They start to undermine your self-esteem. They use gaslighting. They withdraw their love. They humiliate and embarrass you. Constant put downs, or they're hypercritical. They use silence as a way to control you, or they have affairs as a way to kind of humiliate you and to keep you under wraps. They also are sometimes using jealousy, or they're extremely moody, or they have provocative behavior with the opposite sex or same sex in order to control you. They joke at your expense. They just outright use control and domineering, saying no as a way of keeping you in the relationship. They use guilt. They isolate you from your friends and family. They use money to control you. They may threaten to self-harm or suicide. And they may also start to monitor your social media. They may even tell you that you deserve this. And lastly, this is the one that I see pretty often, is they start using text messages as a way to abuse you, blowing up your phone 20, 30 times a day, trying to make sure that you're constantly under their control, that they monitor where you are. Guys, I know this was a lot. I'm hoping that you'll use this as an opportunity to really understand, are you in an emotionally abusive relationship? Use the indicators that I've given you today, and we're going to talk next in my next video about ways to get out of the relationship and its impact. I'm Chantel Cohen, and I help couples become one again.